Hey, everybody. We are here live in Austin, Texas. Lovely Austin, Texas. I kind of feel like I want to hold like this.
You want to hold it?
We're here in live in Austin, Texas. And I am so excited to be joined by my friend. We're going to have so many great stories to share about previous employers and also underwater hockey. I'm going to be joined by Casey Nakamura from, what's the company? Johnson & Johnson Vision?
Johnson Vision.
Johnson & Johnson Vision. So I'm going to play a couple of ads because I'm lazy and I don't like producing stuff after the fact. I can just produce it right here.
Just do it now.
It's pretty fantastic. So we're going to hear an ad from Specright. By the way, I posted a video on LinkedIn. The entire margarita pizza video, which was fantastic.
It's great.
So there's a little snippet of that. Give a quick shout out to my employer, Myers, because they're great. And we'll get here to this interview with Casey Nakamura.
Specright allows us to centralize our spec data in an easy-to-use and searchable platform, puts everyone on the same page with up-to-date information, and helps us to adapt quickly to business needs and sustainability reporting.
Today's podcast is also brought to you by Myers, which is where I work my day job, and coincidentally is the most sustainable printing company in the country. Myers is a third-generation family business on a mission to create a sustainable future for people, products, and our planet. To learn more, click the link down below in the show notes. Hey, thanks, Self, for that pre-recorded video.
Yep. Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
Well, like I said, I'm excited because I feel like I kind of want to hold this because I'm like leaning forward and I already got my dumb face in the background. So I'm excited here to be joined by Casey Nakamura. Casey is the underwater hockey champion of the planet. Is this?
Can't officially say that.
You can't officially say it?
I could say it of Orange County.
Okay.
Of let's see. No, I haven't even won a national championship.
That's all right.
I've won the Pacific Coast Championship.
That's right. You have.
Actually, you know what? I have won a national championship.
You have? Tell me about it.
Yeah, it was our team, the Orange County Octopush. The original name of the sport is Octopush.
Okay.
We went to Denver, Colorado 2 years ago, and we ended up winning our national championship in our division.
Okay.
Because we were a fledgling team, only been around 3 years at that point.
Got it. Well, there's Denver, Colorado is home of the world champion Denver Nuggets.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Yes. So just championships are won in
Avalanche as well.
Yeah.
They have their championships. I got to follow the other hockeys, but of course underwater hockey. That last year went to Tahoe.
Okay.
Tahoe was the national champion last year. We had a few other subdivision champions as well. But,
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Sorry, I keep checking the camera because I can't tell if I'm like in the frame or out of the frame or whatever it is. So hopefully you're just listening to this podcast because it's just me awkwardly turning around. So Casey, I think the first time, well, why don't you do a quick introduction?
Absolutely.
Other than the Octopush national championship and your underwater hockey, which is maybe one of the single most interesting things about you.
It's one of the most interesting things about me.
Yeah, but give a little bit of background on yourself.
Definitely. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
So Casey Nakamura, I am a packaging professional.
Okay.
Certified IOPP.
That's right. Let's go. Who's down with IOPP? Yeah, you know me.
Said no one. So I'm in then, getting involved more so in some of that, but I've been a packaging professional since I left Cal Poly's packaging program.
Yeah.
Back in 2012.
Shout out to Dr. Singh.
Dr. Saha. They were the pioneers there.
The OGs.
Jay.
Yeah.
Jay and Koshik.
All right.
That's where I found my passion for packaging, and jumped right into supplier side of things for a couple of 3, 4, 5 years, which involved the Peak family.
Hey.
In some degrees here, which we can get into a little bit.
We're going to totally get into it.
And then ended up doing some of my own consulting for a little while. Worked with a couple startups, and that helped me refine my focus into going into medical device packaging. And now I can say I've been with J&J for the last 6 years.
Wow. And
involved in their labeling and packaging. Now I was started in their quality assurance and transitioned to labeling, which is more specific on printing and content, less on the packaging. And then now I've actually fully transitioned back into really packaging design, development, and incorporating sustainability into packaging.
Labels are packaging. Just
Labels
so you know.
are packaging. I know, but it's in the medical device world, it's like its whole thing is all
I know.
about just content.
Yeah.
So we had to like break down the responsibilities of labeling is just content
Yep.
in artwork files. Packaging is all material structure.
Right.
And so we clearly defined that line, because before I was there and before Rod Patch, one of my mentors and was my boss, has now moved on, different role, but a pioneer in the medical device packaging world, there was no packaging group.
Okay.
So either you're labeling or you're in R&D or you're in supply chain. The role of a packaging engineer was done by like 20 different people,
Oof.
each doing 5% of the work. And so that's
Which adds up to 100. I went to Colorado State, which
Right.
is the Harvard of the Rockies. So not everyone was as blessed as I was to have
Not
such a
everyone was.
prestigious education where I can multiply.
Do the math.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you were able to kind of take that at J&J and harness it and pull it together.
I was a part of that.
Okay.
And I was more supporting it as it came about. And we've now built a group we have 7 engineers working on different product lines and different projects,
Wow.
all reporting in a supply chain structure.
Okay.
And so, I remember when there was like no packaging engineers, and then I remember the first one, and then there were 2, and then it kept growing and building, and then I hopped on over.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about. I want to get into J&J and what you're doing here with Specright and all that kind of stuff, but we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the fact that
take a peek at it.
we have to take a peek. You can't say that. That's my name. We're gonna
2 years.
We're gonna in sales. I have to Nakamura doors.
Oh,
to
well done.
I don't know. That was a tough one. So how did you get to know Uncle Bob?
Uncle Bob.
Bob's my uncle.
Yeah.
I worked there for 3 years. You had how long were you there?
Just shy of 2 years.
Shy of 2 years.
Yeah.
So collectively, we would be the longest tenured employee.
I
No,
think so.
not quite.
Isaac.
Isaac's been there for a while.
Isaac-
Misty's been there for a
Misty,
while.
Obviously, Isaac. Yeah.
Yeah, but Isaac is definitely the
Miles
longest.
in the warehouse. Miles.
I mean, technically, Miles and
Miles-
Mackie were folding boxes when I was there
They've been there, right?
for like, I don't remember what we paid them, like 10 cents a box
Whatever.
or something.
Is that how? Is that? Yeah.
It was the San Marcos football team
The pack out assembly line
would come in for some
Oh.
box folding
Yep.
competitions. There was actually a kid there named Alex who was by far better than anybody, and he's like a super smart engineer now and doing all sorts of cool
That's
things. I'm
funny.
like, yeah, you had a hard work ethic back then,
Yeah.
buddy. So how did you get connected up with?
Let's see here. Crazy little weird story, but it was a friend of the neighborhood, and I had left. I'd been in Corrugate and Carton, did that for a number of years, and was in Northern California, and I was looking for a change.
Okay.
And was looking to go back to Southern California, come back home.
Right.
So
Is that
San
because you
Diego,
grew up in San Diego?
619, Represent, yeah,
Okay.
San Diego.
What part? Well, like what area?
University City.
Okay.
North Claremont, UTC, near UCSD.
Yep.
So they became the 858, but no one would know.
Yeah.
619, it's like OG San Diego.
Yeah. Like you were like Chargers and Clippers fans
Yeah,
because that's
pretty
how.
much.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
My mom was an Aztec. I grew up an Aztec fan.
Okay.
Um,
Marshall Falk
yeah.
is like the greatest
Well,
Aztec of all time, right?
great.
Yeah.
Kawhi
Leonard.
I was like Kawhi Leonard. I actually met Michael Cage.
Okay.
When he was like, I remember it was like, whoa, dude.
Yeah, he
Michael
played for the
Cage.
Sonics, I think, for a while, right?
He was journeyman in the NBA, but yeah, he was besides Kawhi was the only first round draft pick.
Okay.
And I met
People
him,
are
I
like,
met his
"Can you
son."
move on, please? We don't need to talk
We're
about."
talking about sports. Talk about packaging.
Yeah.
So long story short, ultimately, a golf buddy of Bob's
Okay.
was his son and I went to high school together.
Got it.
And literally in the neighborhood, he saw like my mom, and they got talking, and like she's like, "Oh, my son's in packaging." He's like, "Well, I know a guy," and literally he ended up giving my mom Bob's business card,
Okay.
and she's like, "Hey, call this guy." So
That's awesome.
I was on a beach in Miami because I had left work. I was doing some traveling, some
Okay.
fun employment,
Okay.
and I was like, "Oh, Bob Peak, let's call this guy." And I
Right.
ended up calling him up, and started chatting, and he's like, "I'm always looking for sales reps and engineers," and I'm like, I'm open to getting into sales. I'd been a designer,
Yeah.
and wanted to expand my role. And I knew Corrugate, I knew print and Carton. So
Yeah.
it was like, okay, yeah, let's give this a shot. Came back to San Diego, was brought in. Ed was there.
Ed Heller.
Ed Heller.
Shout out to Ed
right?
Heller.
Shout out.
Was John Brophy still there, or had he left?
Brophy had just left.
Okay.
Well, Brophy was what? He was with a different company. He went to another
He
company.
went to a foam
He
company.
went to the foam.
I think he's still there,
I
actually.
believe he's still there.
Yeah.
I need to.
He made some amazing basil. Did you know this?
I did not know.
He had a
that
basil company.
Really?
Yeah, he packaged and sold basil. It was so good.
All right.
Yeah. Or pesto. Sorry, pesto, not basil.
Well,
It's
you got to start
pesto.
with the basil and make the pesto.
I don't know. I don't know anything about
Alright.
stuff.
He
I'm like,
did he use Specright? Did he manage his recipe accordingly? And
I don't even think Specright was a thought in Matthew Wright's brain at the time. I was eating John Brophy's pesto.
I did not get any John Brophy pesto. I did run a number of jobs through Brophy at I can't remember
the name of the company either. Sorry, John.
Sorry, dude.
But you're great.
Yeah. But yeah, it ended up coming in for a day, and like I ended up like designing a box there where Ed was having a challenge, and I'm like, he's like, we can't fit this, and our table's too small to cut this box. I'm like, well, why don't you just do this box and do that? Like, and he's like, well, if you weren't hired already, you're hired now.
That is
Ed. I'm like, all right, cool. And
that's pretty great.
And ended up doing a little bit of design, and then I started to kind of work my way into sales.
Got it.
For Peak Packaging. So random family connection.
I know.
Bob brought me in, kind of gave me a little opportunity. Started getting out on the field a little bit, taking the calls, getting on the line. You know,
Yeah.
There's a lot of calls.
I know.
Crazy. You know, the website, right? It did drive a lot of traffic, but you had to pick the winners.
It's true.
That was the saying, at least at that time. It was, it's not who you say yes to, it's who you say no to. And there's a lot of people that need help. They want help.
Sounds like a Bobism.
That was very much a Bob.
Yeah. I've had Bob and Miles and Mackie on the podcast actually. So
yeah,
it was
all
fun,
together.
all together.
Wow.
Yeah,
Talk
it was
about
all
a peak
in the
packaging
family.
podcast.
It was definitely a peak packaging podcast.
Peak of packaging.
Stop it. I've heard all of the peak jokes. Every one of them. Between that and like, oh, where's Eve? It's like, okay, guys.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. So that's our fun connection.
Yeah, that was 2 years working for Peak. Actually, I think I developed ended up doing a number of fun projects, different industries. My first was like electronics devices.
Okay.
And then I really ended up hitting my stride at the time with a nutraceutical company.
Yeah.
And like vitamins, and they had lotions and creams, and that's where I really got into a lot of the labeling.
Okay.
Label printing
Mhm.
for them, and ultimately ended up getting a Costco account for frozen vegetables.
Nice.
Tommy Superfoods.
Oh yeah.
Tom.
That's your guy?
We were tight. Tom.
We're giving all the shout outs on this
Yeah.
podcast. Tom's getting shout outs. Bob,
Right.
John. I mean, it's just all of the
So-
most common names. Like we need Steve. We need Eric. We need Matthew.
All right. Well, we already did Matthew.
We already got Matthew. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we shouted out Matthew, right?
Yes.
Well, that's actually a fun transition, accidental transition. But
Mhm.
so we connected up, I think, in person at Westpac.
Well,
that
also Spec Summit last year, and then it was West.
And then it was Westpac. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we met first at Spec Summit. And this is I've said this before, and I genuinely mean it, right? Like, forget if Specright wasn't even a sponsor of my podcast. I'd be like, if I was at this event, it's one of my favorite events.
Oh yeah.
And it's big relative to the history of the Spec Summit,
Right.
but relative to a Westpac or a Pack Expo,
It's
it's really small.
so tiny.
There's 300 people here,
Yeah.
something like that, which is still incredible. Don't get me wrong. But what's cool about it is you just like accidentally meet some of the most amazing and incredible people in CPG, in med device,
Different
in
industries.
automotive. I met some people from Starbucks and Target.
Material. Yeah. It's all
Cummins
across the
and-
board.
It's crazy.
And I think that what they're touting here, it's like the people that are here, they are truly the change makers, the innovators in their companies that want to see this growth, that understand the need for managing your specs.
Yep.
All right. That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here.
So
Yeah.
I'm back again. So
Yeah. So you are speaking
I am
tomorrow.
speaking tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
So have you gone through, walk me through like your journey with something like Specright at a not small company, in J&J? I'm sure that each division has its own,
They have their own orgs, and
Right.
they have their own business cases that they've used it for. And yeah, so particularly for my business, they've been using Specright for, let's say, 3.5 years roughly.
Okay.
But it was a specific use case. And so I was aware of the project, and being in the packaging industry, I was aware of Specright as a specification management company. I was aware of the software. I hadn't used it yet personally,
Okay.
but knew the software, knew the company. I knew through Cal Poly, through
Oh yeah, because they're connected.
They're heavily tied to
Yeah,
universities, and this is really, they made a lot of investments because Matt firmly believes, right, this is the future.
Mhm.
Right, this is the next stage in evolution of product and packaging, is managing digital specifications and information data.
Right.
So I've been aware of this in industry and following, but hadn't had the opportunity to use it effectively. And I support 5 different business units, each having their own complex supply chain data challenges, especially when it comes to their packaging. So at that time, we've been using it for this specific use case. It was time to now take it to the next step and build out a packaging component database.
Okay.
And so that is where the goal of the journey started last year at Spec Summit. When Rod brought me, because he was still leading our group, said, Casey, this is your project.
Yeah.
And
I met him at the show, right? At the bar.
Yes.
Yeah, in Nashville.
That was yeah. Last year, right? So
Nashville. Is that? Nah.
So
Nash Vegas.
Rod brought me last year.
Yeah.
He'd been on the spec. He had years prior experience with Specright and had been one of Specright's champions.
Mhm.
And still is.
Yeah.
But now his role, he moved on to more a larger engineering role within our organization. And so we've had some changes there, but the goal still remains the same. And he's still a sponsor.
Cool.
Of the overall project, because he understands the need. And getting all our specs in one place, easily searchable, accessible,
Right.
Linking everything together. But
So
that's been the journey, has been building that.
that's cool. I think the thing that I hear the most, and obviously I could have plenty of people on from Specright to answer this question, but I think it's actually really powerful because I bring it up a lot. And we're not, I don't work for Specright. We're not, we're a supplier. Like, we're looking at the Specright network.
Right.
It's really exciting. I think they're still in beta testing with that, but I bring it up because from my perspective, I'm like, hey, somebody says, can you give me some pricing on this material, this box, or this label, or this whatever?
Right.
And I'll ask them for the specs.
Yeah.
Because I want to appropriately quote their thing.
Absolutely.
And I would probably say 50 to 60% of the time, they hand me a sample and they say, you spec it out, which
I've
it
been on both
involves
sides of that, but yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I do.
And it involves sometimes a human being. This is true, everybody. A human being smelling the adhesive on the label to determine if it's acrylic or hot melt. Not exactly the way that you want your products to be managed. But so I'll bring this up. I'm like, hey, you guys should go check this out. And they'll go, it's just not really on our roadmap, or we don't have much time to do this, or there's any number of reasons. I'm not asking you to sell Specright. I'm just saying, like, from my perspective, I'm like, well, you're losing money every day because you don't know your data. You don't know. And now that the governments are getting involved, and they're, like the new California EPR bill that I just saw the materials list for is like, if you can't actually report this now to the government, they're not going to smell your labels and determine if it's, they're not going to see if
they're
it's,
not.
They're just going to take your data and you're going to have to guess at it. And I think people are in for a world of hurt. So what would you maybe say to some of those companies who are out there that are like, we don't have time, it's not in our budget? As a user, what would you kind of say to them?
I'd say take a deep look at your specs. Take a look at what you have, and if you don't feel like you have control over that information, you should probably be a little worried. If you don't have it, right, and someone else has it, then who really are you responsible for it? Right? Then you should have control of it.
Yeah,
that's the kind of the thought process that has gone through our little bit of the higher organization and then leaders. and that I'm driving. It's if I don't have the information, right, and I need to, if a supplier has it, right, regardless of how it got there, how can I make sure that I can get it so that we will have it documented and I can always find it.
Yep.
Right.
And I think that's where I'm really excited about the Specright network, is because, and as a supplier, I don't have to worry, is this the right rev? Was this the artwork that was approved? Was this the last version of the artwork that was approved? Is this the right approved materials?
Right.
Because it's I mean, who was it that walked up to Crazy Train? Oh, it was the guy, the host, Paul,
yeah,
from Central Garden Pet.
Right.
You said it's just like you're kind of on a crazy train.
Chaotic.
It's chaos.
It's chaos, and it's so much time wasted in trying to find that little speck of data.
It's crazy.
And yeah, the Specright, the margarita manufacturing, the Specright commercial. There's the longer version of that goes into their finding their data. And yeah, it's I don't ever want to position where I'm asking folks for simple data requests. There needs to be a way to capture that and document that and make it accessible to the people who need it.
Yep. So, and I think that when the some of the problems happen because vendors don't, whoever controls the data has the control over that relationship.
Yeah.
And so if you're a vendor, you're actually not incentivized to give that up. Right? Because it's like, oh, they're going to bid me out or they're going to do this, which, first of all, if you're a vendor and you're afraid that you're going to get bid out because they know what their stuff is, that relationship's cooked anyways. Yeah, just give it away. But for some reason, people just don't do it. And I kind of understand, because when you have control, you have power, and vendors feel like they don't have power. But the thing is, that power comes with a cost, which means that if you are an innovative company, you're actually causing more chaos and more noise in the packaging, buying, and engineering space, and that is going to drastically reduce innovation that can happen, because they don't have time to implement it, because their people time is spent with manual data tracking. It's spent with manual report making. It's spent with trying to manually find specs from different places, and nobody has time to innovate.
Right.
And so the thing that an innovative company should be doing is saying, how do I get my customers more efficient? How do I get myself more efficient? Because we've got a lot of really amazing things. That's the whole point of Specright, right? Like, we have amazing things that we want to bring to the market, and we need people to work on it.
Absolutely.
And so the more we can pull out of this, the faster your innovation can be implemented.
I absolutely agree. It's I'm on multiple project teams that are asking for different data that they need to make the informed business decisions, and especially they're kind of like, how can I be more sustainable? What can I do, and what have we done before? Right. And I can say, okay, this is what we've done, this is what we can do. I can provide the different options, but high level, if I go into we've used this tray and this specific material, it's this much resin, it costs this much. I need to go in the granular details for them to make the best decision that they're going to make, on behalf of the company and ultimately the consumer.
Right.
For us, the patients, right? We want to make sure our products are safe and effective for use.
Yeah.
And we can continue manufacturing because people need them.
Yeah. As somebody who has had 4 eye surgeries and was legally blind, I can say, for sure, yeah. I want to know that everything happened in a safe, effective, clean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into the packaging of that. Well, Casey, we're about, I think they're about to wrap up in there as well. So our little room's about to get crowded.
Going to get very crowded.
I'm going to have to remove my face in place of Corey's face, which is behind there. Sorry, Corey. I just wanted to shout out. Corrugated. Sustainable Packaging Podcast with Corey Connors is great.
Look for my episode. I talk more about underwater hockey.
Do you?
Yeah. You haven't heard that one?
I have not. I'm good. So sorry.
It's all right. We talk about some sustainable practices, some of the projects I've been involved with.
Sweet.
J&J, and then a little bit more at the time. It was prepping for the World Championships. So
dang it,
that was a lot of fun.
I got to go listen to it. Everyone go find Casey's episode. It was 3.7 times better than this one on the Sustainable Packaging Podcast. No Bob Peak stories though, I'm sure, and
definitely
no John Brophy shout outs. So
Ed Heller
or Ed Heller,
Misty.
All of them, the whole crew.
The crew.
Well, Casey, it's been awesome to get to know you over the past I guess year. I felt like it's been longer than that.
Well, because we met when you came to visit San Diego back in the peak days.
We did, didn't we? That's right.
That's when we first met.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I know. And yeah.
Okay, I'm
so it's all coming back, but then re-meeting, right?
Yeah.
Post
reconnecting.
Yeah. Right. And then it was Spec Summit, and then boom, it was MDM West.
Yep.
Or Westpac, whatever we call it, because it's 5 different shows.
I know. By the way, if you're going to Westpac next week, go find Avelio Matos. He's got his own little mini packaging unbox conference. I'm super stoked for him. So I'll make sure there's a link down there. I got to get this episode out today, though.
Okay.
In order for this to happen.
All
so
right.
I put the pressure on myself.
Pressure's on. All right. We can wrap up.
We're gonna
right.
we're gonna wrap.
So,
So Casey, what's the best way for people to reach out and connect with you?
Absolutely. LinkedIn. I definitely highly recommend LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can reach out and
Put the link in the show notes. You can just click it.
You can click it. That works.
Or just search for Casey
Search,
Nakamura doors.
I put my QR code on my presentation slide.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
So if you're here at the show, or I don't know if the presentations will be made public, but if they are, then that's awesome. But I can connect up with you that way. Casey, it's been great.
Adam, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. I'm gonna roll the end credits. I'm gonna try this. I actually haven't done this. We're gonna roll the end credits now. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't.
We'll see.
But this is the adventure.
Pack it out.
All right. Well, that is a wrap for the People of Packaging podcast. Hey, if you want some more packaging content, you can go pick up the book my wife and I wrote, Packaging Peaks in the Sticky Situation, available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all sorts of places. And also, I want for you to go and follow my friends, Corey Connors. He hosts Sustainable Packaging with Corey Connors. It is incredible and it is wonderful. You can also go check out Avelio Matos's podcast, Packaging Unboxed. And you can check out the 3 of us every single Monday morning, 8:30 Mountain Time on LinkedIn, where we host the Packaging Today show. It is hilarious, and packaging is only half the story. So go check it out.